Welcome to Canada Diaries, where history comes alive. Join us as we explore the rich and fascinating origins of the First Nations in Canada, their cultures, and their timeless traditions. In the end of video, we're going to share 10 fun facts with you regarding today's video. Origins and pre-colonial history of Canada. First Nations lives, cultures, and traditions. Long before European settlers arrived, the land now known as Canada was home to thriving Indigenous cultures. The First Nations shaped and were shaped by this land for tens of thousands of years. Let's journey back in time to discover their origins and traditions. Chapter 1. Arrival and Early Settlement, 15,000 BCE, 10,000 BC. About 15,000 years ago, during the last ice age, the ancestors of the First Nations crossed the Bering Land Bridge from Siberia into North America. As the glaciers receded, these early settlers spread out, adapting to diverse climates, from the Arctic tundra to the temperate rainforests. Chapter 2. Early Cultures and Tools, 10,000 BCE, 8,000 BCE. By 10,000 BCE, the First Nations developed distinct tools and techniques to survive. They hunted large animals like mammoths and bison, gathered wild plants, and created early communities. Over time, they became deeply connected to their environment. Chapter 3. Regional Adaptations, 8,000 BCE, 1,000 BC. As the climate warmed, regional adaptations emerged. On the Pacific coast, abundant marine life supported fishing cultures. On the plains, First Nations hunted bison and later developed mobile lifestyles. In the Northeast, agriculture began to flourish with the cultivation of maize, beans, and squash, known as the Three Sisters. Chapter 4. Cultural Flourishing, 1000 BCE, 500 CE. By 1000 BCE, cultural practices began to flourish. The First Nations created complex oral traditions, art, and spiritual practices tied to the land. Coastal groups like the Haida carved towering totem poles, while Plains peoples held communal buffalo hunts. Extensive trade networks connected communities, spreading ideas and goods across vast distances. Chapter 5. The Rise of Complex Societies, 500 CE, 1500 CE. Between 500 and 1500 CE, the First Nations developed increasingly complex societies. The Iroquois Confederacy, also known as the Haudenosaunee, established advanced political systems based on consensus. Spiritual ceremonies like the sun dance reflected deep relationships with the natural world. Communities celebrated storytelling, art, and music to pass down traditions. Chapter 6. Spiritual Beliefs and Connection to Nature. The First Nations' spiritual beliefs were deeply rooted in the land and its creatures. Legends like Raven bringing light or Turtle Island's creation taught respect for nature and community. Shamans acted as spiritual leaders, guiding rituals to honor the spirits of the earth, water, and sky. Chapter 7. Pre-colonial life before 1500 CE. Before 1500 CE, the First Nations thrived in harmony with the land. Their rich cultural diversity was evident in their languages, traditions, and innovations. These societies were self-sufficient, sustainable, and resilient, living examples of humanity's deep connection to the natural world. Though the arrival of Europeans brought immense change, the First Nations' legacy endures. Their stories, traditions, and knowledge remain integral to the history and identity of Canada today. Now it's time to share fun facts about First Nations in Canada for a 5-minute segment. 1. The origin of the name Canada. The name Canada comes from the Iroquois word Kanata, meaning village or settlement. 2. The Three Sisters Agriculture. Indigenous peoples in northeastern Canada perfected the farming of the Three Sisters: maize, corn, beans, and squash, which complement each other when grown together. 3. The Longhouses of the Iroquois. The Iroquois built massive longhouses, sometimes over 60 meters, 200 feet, long, housing multiple families under one roof. 4. The largest indigenous trade network. Long before Europeans arrived, indigenous peoples established trade routes stretching across the continent, exchanging goods like furs, copper, and obsidian. 5. Totem poles are storybooks. Totem poles carved by the First Nations of the Pacific Northwest tell stories of family history, spiritual beliefs, and important events. 6. Canoes, engineering marvels. Birch bark canoes were so lightweight and durable that European explorers adopted them for navigating Canada's rivers and lakes. 7. Over 70 Indigenous languages in Canada. There are over 70 Indigenous languages in Canada, with Cree, Ojibwe, and Inuktitut being among the most widely spoken. 8. Myths about the Northern Lights. Many First Nations believe the Northern Lights are the spirits of their ancestors dancing in the sky. 9. The Sun Dance Ceremony. The Sun Dance, practiced by Plains peoples, is a sacred ceremony that includes singing, drumming, and fasting to honor life and the Creator. 10. Turtle Island Creation Story. Many First Nations refer to North America as Turtle Island, based on a creation story where the Earth was formed on the back of a giant turtle. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that connect us to the past and inspire the future. Tell us in the comment what topic you like to discover next. See you in the next video. Love from Canada.